Well, welcome in, everybody. It is Disney Dialogues. I'm here with my broadcasting partner, Jen. Good to see you.
Hello.
I know you're excited about tonight. This is one we've talked about for quite some time.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this one. This is going to be a good one.
I'm really looking forward to it. So, to
Mhm.
everyone in our chat, we'll do the best we can to highlight your questions and possibly get them to you. We'll remind you now and at the end. If you're going through and we don't get to one of your questions, please leave it in the comments after the show, and we'll make sure we get that over to our guests tonight so we can get a response back and everybody can get their answers entered. I'm excited because his work is spectacular. Jen, I know you know a bunch of it, but let me share a couple real quick here
Mhm.
before you start your opening tonight. Wow, absolutely cool here. I know you've talked about it as we've done stuff. His social media presence is strong. You actually have a lot of the wallpapers and stuff from the past. There's one right there, I believe, looking in from the past. Look at this, Sorcerer Mickey. Somebody
Sorcerer
likes
Mickey.
somebody look at the Christmas Mickey. I gotta be
One of
honest.
my favorites.
I gotta tell you the truth. I was listening to Christmas shows today. So I watched last year. I recorded and saved last year's Disney Thanksgiving and Christmas. I watched them both today. So I'm in that mood. Uh, Belle, gorgeous. His Mickey from the festival, just unreal. Look,
Mhm.
oh, look at the hat. Look at the hat with the brooms.
I know. I know.
Cruella,
You
his
know,
villains.
it's the use of the lighting and the color in that is just amazing.
Spectacular. Yeah, absolutely. And then, oh my word, how about that? Just we're going to talk about all this and so much more tonight here. Just a quick hello to everybody out there. Apologize, we can't say hello. We're saying a general hello, but Jen's got a great introduction for our guest, and I want to get to it. I'll go back through these pictures while Jen's doing it. Again, leave your comments into the chat throughout the night. We'll try to highlight you. Jen, tell everybody a little bit about our guest coming in tonight.
Sure, I love to. Our guest tonight is a passionate creative designer and Disney artist featured at the EPCOT Festival of the Arts.
Mm-hmm.
He holds a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Graphic Design and Communication Arts from the prestigious Pratt Institute in New York. Very
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Very cool.
Disney has been interwoven throughout his career and continues to inspire and influence his journey today through his independent artwork. In the early 2000s, he proudly served as a Disney College Program campus representative for 4 years, representing the Walt Disney World College Program and sharing the magic with the future participants.
Love it.
Disney has been an integral part of Jason's journey, working with Disney destinations, serving in roles such as creative support and professional intern, contributing to Walt Disney World global marketing sales with creative services, and the Walt Disney Company Disney Parks Gallery program. I mean that's a resume. That's pretty
Yes,
cool.
that is a resume. And we're not even
In
done yet.
addition, well, no, we're not done because in addition to his Disney career, he also completed a creative assistant internship with Nickelodeon and later served as a senior graphic artist for Loungefly. Who doesn't love Loungefly? Come on.
Yeah, come on.
Further expanding his creative portfolio. Jason has also had the opportunity to work on special projects for Disney Entertainment. Various Nights event, as well as exclusive artwork for Club 23. Did you mean 33? I think
Yeah.
that's Club 33.
Hmm.
Sorry, my mistake. Our guest tonight had the prestigious honor of having his Epcot piece for the 2023 Festival of the Arts selected as the official festival poster for Epcot. That is truly a special recognition. That is so
It's
awesome.
it's unreal.
Very good. If you may have first seen him last year in Anaheim at D23, or maybe this year in Florida at Destination D23, and we certainly hope that will be an ongoing tradition. But
Absolutely.
tonight you get to see him right here on Disney Dialogues. So please join me in welcoming Jason Ratner to the show.
Jason, welcome in.
Hey, thanks so much. Thank you for that amazing intro. Nice
Well,
nice to see you guys.
well, I think you worked extremely hard for that, and kudos to a
Mhm.
lot of it. Thank you. for being a cast member as well. We appreciate that as part of the DCP program. That's pretty awesome.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
excited to talk with you. We've got so much to talk about across your entire portfolio and everything you do. But I kind of want to start with just a generic, just top line introduction to anybody who might be seeing you or meeting you for the first time, and then we'll kind of dig into all the topics we want to talk about tonight.
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Jason. I have always loved art, ever since I was a little kid. Have had big dreams of working for Disney and doing art for Disney. And so currently I do artwork for the Disney Gallery. And, I've had a long career so far of kind of jumping around, but I did do, some about 10 years at Disney as a graphic designer. But early on, it was, just the road to Disney, trying to find, the best path for me and what kind of art I wanted to do and, how I can get there. And so, there was a journey there that definitely, was a ride, but, it was a lot of fun. And so I'm, happy to be here today to kind of like dive into some of that more specifically and how I got to where I am today.
Awesome, love it. And that the piece we're showing on the screen is the Aladdin piece from the festival, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, that was from last year, Festival of the Arts. Yeah.
Gorgeous piece. I'm a big Aladdin fan,
Thank you.
one of mine there. So, all right, I'll keep it rolling.
So, can you just start off by sharing with us when you first felt those early inclinations that you wanted to become an artist? Like, what were some of the driving factors or influences in your youth that set you on the path to the creative career that you're in today?
Sure. Yeah, I actually have one of my earliest memories is my brother was actually taking like a drawing class. This was, gosh, I might have been like 5 or 6. And just my brother is 3 years older than me, and I think just like seeing him do something, I was kind of like, well, I want to do that. Kind of like monkey see, monkey do. And
Okay.
so he had been drawing Disney characters. I remember there was like a Dumbo that he had brought home from his class, and I was like, oh, I really want to do that. And I was already loving Disney as a kid, and we went a couple times as a family, and was always watching the films and stuff. And so, like, real early on, that was sort of, I think, my earliest memory of like, hey, I want to draw, and I want to draw Disney. And so from there, I just was doing art all the time. Like just as a kid, I was always drawing. Also, superheroes was another big influence. I was creating a lot of my own superheroes. And, anytime there was a new Disney movie, I was getting all the books and trying to draw all the characters. And so it was just kind of like very early ingrained, into me. And so as I got into high school, towards the end, they offered a like intro to graphic design class, and I had never done any artwork on the computer before, other than in like a paint program, which you'll see an example of later on, of just some stuff in that paint. I think that was on like a Gateway 2000. But anyway, I had not done like other artwork really on a computer before until then, and then that kind of really set something off, for me. Just kind of like clicked that I really loved drawing and I really loved doing art, but I loved seeing what I could do with it in the computer. And so that, really sparked the path for graphic design and graphic art, digital art.
Okay.
And so I, decided to go ahead and, pursue that in, college. And of course, Disney staying prevalent in my, mind. It was always a goal that I wanted to do those types of things, but do it, for Disney art.
Very cool. And Jen had pointed out to me that, and because she's my Epcot nut, that's her favorite park. She loved this piece because this was the featured piece, correct?
Thank you. Yeah, this is one that was the festival poster that year, and I believe it was 2023,
Very cool. How
which
awesome is
was
that?
a huge honor.
That's tremendous honor to have your piece selected for that, and well deserved, for sure. So
Oh, thank
love
you.
that. I'd like to talk about family for a minute because family's a key thing. It's such an important part of any creative journey. Could you share with us how your wife and daughter have supported and inspired you along the way, and with your own family story that has multiple
Yeah.
ties to Walt and Lillian, which is really cool. And also, if we would
Yes.
highlight for a moment uh, your daughter was a Disney baby. So there's a lot of tie-ins here with the family. I'm excited about this.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's my wife Annie and my daughter Lillian. I actually, when I was doing the college program in 2002, I was working All-Star Music front desk, and Annie was working at Magic Kingdom. We actually met on the college program, and so from
Cool.
there it was, was history, and so we ended up getting married. And we didn't plan it this way, but later on we realized it was the same wedding date that Walt and Lillian had, so July 13th, which is crazy because it was like I remember when we were looking at dates at the venue, that was like the only date in the month of July that was going to work. And so, that's the one we took. And later on, we were like, found out that it was also Walt and Lillian's, which was crazy. And so yeah, and then, my daughter Lily, who she is an artist herself. She is into absolutely everything. And, when I was early on starting, doing designs for the festivals and such, it was kind of like whatever movie she was watching on repeat, Disney movie, whether it was Frozen or Beauty and the Beast, those factored into the pieces that I had been working on for the festival for those years. So it was like, constant inspiration. The movies were always on. I had to do my own part for my research and everything on what I wanted to do, but I thought that was fun to, uh, really focus on what she was really into at the time, and it kind of added like an extra level of a, like really nice memory for me for that piece, but also, doing it for, yeah, just the fact that, I love this movie, but also it has kind of like another, background meaning, that's a little bit more personal. And then, so like getting back to Disney Baby, our nursery for her was all Snow White themed, and I had been posting pictures after it had been done, and Disney Baby had reached out, and they were like, "We, love your nursery. Could we, share some photos of it in like, a blog format on social media and on their website?" And so that was really great because we took a lot of pride in, getting the nursery together and, theming it the way that we did. It was, more of like a French uh, country style inspired take on Snow White. So a lot of like light gray and pink and, elaborate, designs on
Very
the
nice.
curtains and things like that. So it
That's
was a lot of
awesome.
fun.
That's awesome. Debbie Burnfeld says, "What a lovely family." I couldn't agree, Debbie.
Oh,
I couldn't agree more.
thank
That's
you.
awesome. I love that.
Well, I want to take a moment to talk about a character that's very close to my heart, that is
Yeah.
very prominent in your artistic portfolio. That's Sorcerer Mickey. Could you please expand on your thoughts of what Sorcerer Mickey means to you as an artist and why this character holds such an importance in your work?
Yeah, I mean, out of all the Mickeys, I've always loved Sorcerer Mickey for, a few reasons. Not only do I just love that portion of Fantasia, it's beautiful. It has Mickey. It was always, the one that like stood
Mhm.
out to me as my favorite. But, just also seeing Mickey as like a true dreamer, right? In the literal sense too. And then, of course, Walt was a dreamer. So that connection is, I think, really powerful in that
Mhm.
scene. And then there's also like a lot of lessons to be learned, like, that I'm trying to remind myself. We can't always jump into things right away, even though we're dreaming about it and we want to do it. We have to remember there's, the time that we need to take to just also put in the work to get to where, we want to be and what we envision for ourselves in these dreams that we have. And so I think this, Sorcerer Mickey is all of that. And so it's just always been, inspiring to me. And so I love doing, lots of different types of art. And, usually if I'm doing some personal exploration and things like that for artwork, I'll use, him as my subject or just the sorcerer hat or, things like that. So it's, he's always just been a favorite,
I love
for
it.
those reasons.
That's
I love
awesome.
that.
He's
Thanks.
that's good, Jen. Did you have something else you want
I
to
was
share?
going to say, yeah, can you go back to the slide we were just on? This one. Like, the symbolism of the hat. I mean, to me, that
Yeah.
just means dream.
Yeah.
Anything is possible. Like, that's
Yeah.
Not even so much him wearing the hat, but just the symbol of the hat. And look at all the different ways that you're able to present it, from very geometrical to magical. There, the bottom left one with the light shining on it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just I, I'm sorry, I'm just
Oh,
such a
thank
big
you.
fan. I just love it.
Thank
It
you.
just
Yeah,
takes on
this
so many different looks, but yet it's the same idea, and it's just very magical.
Thank you. Yeah, this was and still is like I probably need to do more of it, but and just kind of you know experimenting with the s- different things that I want to learn about some of the design programs and how to get things to look a certain way. I just use the hat as like my test subject, and just kind of like play with different treatments that I hope one day to and have seen in some of my official artwork that I use some of those things that I've learned in these processes with some of this personal art, put that to use in a more official capacity and help me learn and grow as an artist. And while playing with something like the sorcerer hat, which I love, I think I find that it is more fun for me, and it's something I could get really passionate about. And so that's usually always if I get questions about stuff like that in terms of how to progress as an artist. And I think giving yourself these little projects with a subject that you're passionate about and that you love, I think is a really great way to do that.
I love it. That's a great answer. Well, you both loving Sorcerer Mickey the way you do. You both will appreciate that. The last time I talked to Jeff Alley down at the parks, when I saw him down there, after I got a picture with him, I said, "Hey, one question: what bathrooms do I need to start cleaning to get the hat back out of storage somewhere and put it down at Disney Springs? Put it
One
somewhere for
day.
us. Put it somewhere for us, please, because I used to love that. And the new
Me too.
animation corridor will have a version of that, which is going to be cool. So I love it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm looking forward to that for sure.
that's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see a picture of uh, of Jason under the new section when it gets done. That'll be awesome. So,
I can't
all right,
wait. Can't wait.
let's keep rolling here. And speaking of inspirations, every artist that we spoke with is kind of shaped by the visionaries who came before them. In your own artistic journey, you made mention to being influenced by icons such as Walt Disney, Stan Lee, Mark Davis, who we've talked about many times, Mary Blair, John Hench, we've talked about many times, and the incredible Floyd Norman, just to name a few. Could you share with our audience, if you wouldn't mind, how some of these creative legends have inspired your work to influence you as an with your artistic voice today?
Yeah, I think as growing up and learning more about Disney, and of course, there's Marvel and Stan Lee, but in
Hmm.
terms of Disney and who he surrounded himself with, and what everyone else was doing to kind of bring all these animated films together, or Imagineering projects together. I think there's just like a lot of, and of course, this is just a few of like a ton of amazing, animators and Imagineers that, obviously that are around today and that we'll work with. But, I just think generally, in a general sense, I think it's all just very inspiring to see the projects that they've worked on and what that amounts up to and what the end results are for a lot. And of course, like, with Mary Blair, the impact that she had just,
Yeah.
in the concept phase, of projects was just, kind of mind blowing to me how, things ended up looking different, but the process and what she put together to prepare to kind of like create a path for what these movies looked like and what these projects looked like for Walt was just pretty amazing. So I think and Stan Lee, I also love Marvel, specifically the X-Men. I just kind of
Cool.
grew up with the X-Men, and just to have created such a huge thing that's had a big impact, on my life. Same like with Walt. It's just it's just kind of pretty amazing to at least see what they have built and have a lot that I love that I know that they created that I can continue to like have a passion about. And it's just I'm just it's mind blowing what they've all accomplished. So
Yeah, that it definitely is. Absolutely.
Ooh, I'm excited to talk about this. I saw it all posted on your social media. So let's tell everyone this was the opportunity that you had to attend an event put on by the Walt Disney Birthplace, which is
Mhm.
actually in Chicago. But this event took place at Walt Disney's home that was in California. So could you talk about that experience and share with our audience what it was like to be there?
It was pretty incredible. I was very grateful to be out there. I was working with them a little bit to help with this event. They were doing needing some pieces that they were going to do for auction to benefit the foundation and Walt Disney Birthplace and the charity that they have. And so I was able to go out there to take in the event and walk through Walt's home, which was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And so the standing in some of the spaces where you see famous photos of Walt
The iconic
taken, and
pictures.
you're in that same spot. That was pretty amazing, and I definitely was like a pinch myself, kind of moment. But it it is hard to like formulate words about it, but yeah, I mean, they also do tours from time to time, and if
Mhm.
anyone is heading out to California, you can look into when they're doing tours, and I would highly recommend it, and I'd love to go back. But learning more about Walt's family within the home, and how he raised his girls there, and it's probably one of the homes where they spent most of their time as a family together.
Right.
I think is really important. It resonates with me, just having a family. And, I just think it was really beautiful to learn more about because I think it's something I knew existed, but I didn't really know a whole lot more of, what Walt did when he was there and what all he was involved with in terms of building the home and everything. And so the playhouse in the backyard, he had his Imagineers build for his daughters as a Christmas gift, and they did it overnight in one night, and it was ready for Christmas morning the next day, and so that really was a cool thing to see as well. And so we got to listen to a few speakers. Floyd Norman was there, and just Becky Klein from the Disney Archives was there, and just got to hear some Disney magic. People who have interacted with Walt, at times in their life, and so it was really inspiring and definitely something I would love to get back to and visit again.
That's wow. Blown blown away. I'll throw a
Yeah,
real quick question at you. Christopher
sure.
Robbins says, when you did graphic design for Disney, what kind of projects did you work on? If you want to give a quick answer to that one, if that's available.
Sure. Yeah, I know I think we're going to touch on it some more here, but it primarily was internal cast support. So it was a lot of we did some internal marketing pieces, communication. There was like digital sales tools that are provided to cast members to help them sell product to
Yep.
guests, tickets and things like that.
Very cool. Yep, and we are going to talk a little bit about that a little bit later. But I always like acknowledging our friends that are in the chat as well when I can. I'd like to
Yeah,
take a moment, kind of, to talk to you about your creative process and a little bit about inspiration. I know that you've shared in the past about your closeness to the parks, and also that amazing young daughter that you have, Lillian, and how both have had a special impact on your work. Could you just talk with us for a moment in our audience about that for a few minutes?
yeah, sure. And I think I spoke about, with Lillian, it was, pertaining to the festival artwork where I was looking to see what she was really into at the time in terms of Disney films and Disney characters, and pulling from that as my inspiration for, what I
Hmm.
could prepare and start to work on, for the festival, which was, fun for me to do, and just a way for me to more personally connect, with her and have that memory, within that piece. And so, she still even forever, will inspire me to work, because now that she's almost not, or she's almost 10, I'm sorry. She, is very vocal about what she likes. She has big opinions and a big personality, which I love. So she, will actually say like, "Oh, why don't you do, this piece for this movie or this character?" And so I take her recommendations very seriously. So,
That's probably a good
that's a
thing.
real fun, yeah, that's a real fun, thing as she has grown up. It's been, really fun for us to have those real conversations now, especially since she, is a little artist, and she loves to draw, and she loves to, do a lot of that as well. So, sometimes with some of the one of a kind pieces and things like that, I'll let her help me out, if I need some testing done, things like that. So she loves, being a part of that. And anytime I can make her feel included in any of that, I try, because I feel
That's
like,
awesome.
it's a good thing for her, to go through. And then, in terms of just being inspired, obviously with the Disney stuff, living so close to the park, I, try to get myself out into the parks and, take pictures. And of course, for specific films or characters, I'm, maybe rewatching a movie, a bunch of times, or going through, a lot of different, you know, uh, animated shorts, animated features, just to
Mhm.
like, you know, do a refresh, but also, really find what I'm drawn to. And then also, when I'm out there talking with guests, definitely listening to, what they're looking for, and, what's kind of, something that maybe hasn't been done much before, or, things like that. And also,
Very
just
cool.
trying to, you know, the internet is there's a lot out there. And so I think there's, definitely ways to find some great inspiration, out there as well.
Love that. Love that. Our moderators are
Yeah.
dropping into the chat, everybody, the links for Jason's website and also for his Instagram. Great ways to keep up with him. Hopefully, in
Mhm.
the near future, maybe we'll hear some announcements come up. Maybe later tonight, we'll hear an announcement. Who knows? You never know what can happen over here on Disney Dialogues with our guests. But make sure you're clicking and keeping up with Jason as we go along.
So, I would think one of the great things about being at the different festivals at the parks is the interaction that you have with your fans. Could you share any magical or unexpected moments that you've had with any of your fans? Because we'd love to hear if any special interactions come to mind.
I was reading this question, and the one thing for me is every year it's always unexpected that, like, I don't know, not unexpected, but I'm always just so thankful that, everyone continues to come, and they, still, buy my art, and they're still wanting to visit and, chat with me. And I think, while that's not unexpected, I just don't always expect it. And so it's definitely something I'm just, thrilled to be a part of. And, so thankful that there are guests that want to come out and meet with me and talk with me and buy my artwork. And I'm just so grateful, to have that opportunity to do that. And I think, in interacting with, all the guests, whenever, they show me pictures of their collections that includes my artwork and things like that, or anything that I've worked on, it's just, really special. And so those types of things are always just really, you know, um, really cool to see. And I'm just so, grateful, that they're collecting my artwork, and they just want to, get in a line and, wait to talk to me, or just, meet me, to even say hi, just if they haven't bought anything, which is totally great too. So, so I think every guest experience has just been, has been great. And I'm just so thankful, to have that opportunity to be out there.
And I should also point out that when I went to talk to Jason the first time, I had to go back like 3 times because I don't interrupt artists when they're with guests and they're signing their artwork. To me, that's their time
Mhm.
with the people. I only talk with the artist when I have a break in the action. And I kept going back. I was like, this is great. He's got a line, which I was happy because he was moving pieces. But when I finally got to talk to him, I was very grateful. So that's great. And Jen, just to point out for you, look at Jessica Rabbit. Just want to throw Jessica's
I
love it.
I love
So,
that. I love that Jessica Rabbit.
it's amazing, absolutely
Yeah,
amazing.
because and that's where we first
Oops,
met at the festival,
it is.
so when we were, talking out there and stuff. So
It was awesome. Thank you for taking that time and giving us a chance.
yeah, of
I
course.
wanna I wanna dip into some early work. I got a couple slides here. We'd love to dive in and talk about some of your early art pieces, your career beginnings, I guess, as we look at it. As I show these pictures here, could you just share a little bit about your thoughts about some of your early work and how they played a role in kind of shaping you in the journey to where you are today?
Yeah, these are really early, but I thought it would be fun to I don't always get to see these a lot, so I actually have a stack of stuff that I, have from a lot of my early drawings, and so just going through them is really fun for me as well. And so the Jessica Rabbit, actually, I've always been a fan of that. I sent into the Walt Disney Classics collection, which is no longer around, but that is one of the things I collected and still try to collect the most of if I'm looking for pieces on eBay or whatever. But I had sent them that idea of hey, it would be great to do a Jessica Rabbit statue like this, and eventually they actually did, and I have one. But I'm sure it wasn't because of my drawing that I sent them. And then just again, like just drawing Disney characters. I just love doing. That Snow White, I think, is the one in the middle. Is like, I don't know if there's a date on that one, but very, very old. Which I'm so glad I have, though. It's done with marker, and then the one on the top right is what I did in the paint program. I think my very first beginning of exploring art on the computer, and that was done on our Gateway 2000 machine.
There it is.
But I did a whole series of those. Snow White, the princess was always in that same pose, but I redid the clothing, and then I would do some of the atmosphere, to change up what the princess was. But yeah, and uh, I don't. I love that these are all still, I don't do as much hand drawn on paper as I really should these days, but I just love seeing, a lot of the stuff that I had done, that
Love that.
was with pencil and paper and
Love it, love it, love it. We love looking
yeah.
into the early part
Mhm.
of our artists and where they were, or different parts. Jen, how about?
Yeah, let's touch on a different form of art that you're now doing. I'd love to hear about your process in creating some of your signature custom designed invitations. Could you share what inspires these unique pieces and maybe tell us about one that was especially meaningful for you?
Yeah, so these I started doing before I got my full-time job at Disney. So this was pre 2011. I was, after my professional internship with Disney had ended, I was, jumping around from job to job kind of over like 5 years, waiting to get that full-time role at Disney.
Hmm.
And so I stayed in Florida, and I just wanted something else to do that gave me again some more creative freedom, and then just kind of like building an extra business. And so I was doing our own wedding invitations and decided I would start doing other people's wedding invitations and doing as much customization as I could, and of course you know working one-on-one with the bride and groom to go ahead and design what they envisioned for their invitation. And so I even attended the one of the bridal shows with a booth that I had to promote my business and such. I don't quite do much of it anymore currently, but if I was to be approached and someone needed some invitation designs, I would be happy to do them, and work with them on that. But yeah, it was a definitely a crazy process because I was doing all the designing, the print production, everything, the assembly, the shipping. So it was a lot of work. And these really, all of them are kind of derivative of what I was being asked to come up with in terms of the creative vision, with talking with those getting married and what they wanted for the wedding, what the style was, and really trying to make this like an extension of what their guests were going to eventually see more of at the weddings. And some of them were also birthday, party invitations, and other. other things, not always just weddings.
Right.
But yeah, these were it was a fun, crazy time.
Great way to cross over the two and get you through. That's pretty impressive. Very impressive.
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you, thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about Disney global marketing and sales teams, and additionally Disney's social media. I'd love to hear a little bit about your standout projects and or insights from that part of your career. The first four slides here are kind of about Disney global marketing, and then the back half that I have will be a little bit about some of the social media. If you could talk about that.
Yeah, sure. So, in the creative services team that I was on, we primarily supported cast members, in a few various ways because there were casts out at the Disney Reservation Center where guests would call in to make Disney reservations, and then casts that were more out at ticket locations selling products and tickets to guests. So we supported, those areas in addition to like there was training and digital media as well, so video and internal websites for casts also. And so, any kind of digital support with the reservation center, it was any communications that the cast needed to stay knowledgeable of what new Disney products and services was coming out, and
Okay.
then there was a lot of like recognition and events, stuff that we would do. Like, for instance, in this hallway, there was a recognition program that wanted to showcase how cast members were owning moments with guests on the phone when they were booking their reservations. So I wanted to do this very storyboard style, execution of how this was all going to be displayed. And so, kind of like taking back or looking back into Disney history and how Walt created films and did the storyboarding fashion. I wanted to, showcase that in this way. And so this wall showcased a lot of those stories that, the cast members had and how they own moments with guests. And it would help like inspire other casts to see how, their fellow cast members were doing this and, maybe they could, learn and gain knowledge from that. And it also showcased a lot of really beautiful art from the Disney archives, which we would get changed out every now and then to keep it, really feeling very Disney and, just kind of like a
Fresh.
really, way to a nice way to, transform the inside of the
Yeah,
building space.
absolutely.
Um, so
Mm,
yeah, there was a lot of support that went into a lot of design support that went into those initiatives to do that.
I love it.
Um, thank
Let's
you.
jump about social media because Jen, I think, has every bit of social media I think you've put out. But I'm still gonna
Yeah, yeah.
let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I somewhere in the middle of my 10 years with that team, I had connected with someone at Disney Parks blog and I was, probably, you know, hounding them to let me to volunteer and do some artwork for them for the downloadable wallpapers and things like that. And so, yeah, I started doing artwork. I was volunteering just because I was, also wanted to again take some of what I was doing, for some of my personal art and
Hmm.
explore that in a more illustrative way, which I wasn't always doing in my full-time role. So this gave me another outlet to work on some different types of projects. And then from the Parks blog, I connected with some groups from social media for Disney Villains, Disney Princess, and Pixar, Disney Family, and so I started doing a bunch of stuff for them as well, which it was all volunteer work, but I loved it, and it gave me opportunity to do some different types of artwork, for Disney, which was really fun for me.
Very cool. Neil asked a question. Did any of this
Sure.
inspire the lobby and the Art of Animation Hotel? Did you have any inspiration in any of your work over there with that?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I could see how that would, yeah, but no, I did not work on any of that. But that is really cool over there.
Love question. Good question, Neil. And Christopher Robbins
Yeah,
says, "Love the Halloween Mickey and Minnie wallpaper." Yes, as we put it on the screen, I
thank
saw
you.
Jen light up like Christmas morning over there on that. You know, so
Yeah, I
all right,
love it. It was a lot of seasonal stuff, and we would
Mhm.
react to, the different seasonal seasons. So
very cool.
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, Jason, could you take a moment to talk about the one of a kind art and special projects you've shared with us this evening? We'd love for you to tell our audience a bit more about that part of your career and what makes these projects so special to you.
Yeah, so with the pieces that I do for the Festival of the Arts, we're also given an opportunity to take some of those and create a one-of-a-kind version. And so, for instance, the Jessica Rabbit was the first one that I had done, and that year, she that year she has a neon theming, and so I was like, well, how can I take this digital piece, which is printed flat, on canvas, and really elevate that and make it, you know, feel new and special and extra special. And so I had a custom fabricated neon frame created for it, and then because Jessica has a really sparkly dress in the movie, I, placed, I think it was over 200 Swarovski crystals on her dress and
Wow.
mounted that to the frame that was lit up with neon. And so that and many of the others that I do, the goal is to really look at look at what it is and think about elevating the story and how do I bring more dimension to it and make it feel a little extra wow, a little extra special. And so it's fun for me because it's definitely giving me an extra challenge, and it kind of makes me think about a lot of the days in college where I was like handcrafting all these college projects and things like that. And so it really is a fun challenge for me, but I also think it is a really cool thing to be able to put out there that takes what's already existing and elevating it and make it extra special. And so there's definitely a lot that goes into those, and I just love doing them. I hope I can continue to do them. But yeah, it's definitely a fun creative process for me that I think is a great challenge, and I look forward to always trying to do those.
I love that. Love that. Jen, by the way, he's talking about that piece. Christmas is coming. Just throwing it out there. No intense reason.
I,
Uh, yeah. Speaking of Christmas is coming, I
Speaking of
guess
Christmas,
I
yeah.
guess I get to talk about the good things here because I'm sure we could find a piece over here. You had some work with Loungefly, and it's such an incredible company with products that are just adored by millions around the world. We talk about Loungeflies every Friday night on our Disney News and Merch show. As a senior
Oh,
graphic
cool.
artist there, could you spend a few minutes talking about your time at Loungefly and what that experience was like for you? And we're going to show some of Jason's pieces while he talks.
Yeah, I definitely was looking to explore, more of doing artwork for merchandise. And so, this working at Loungefly certainly was a great way for me to do that. And, not just doing the Disney, but it also gave me an opportunity to work on some pieces from other IP as well, Harry Potter, Beetlejuice, things that I think were a
Cool.
jolting challenge to my, uh, my Disney brain. And so
I
I
love
think
it.
it's always good to, to have that. And so I think that was, for me, oh yeah, and there's Star Wars in there as well. And so, which I hadn't done a lot of. And so I think, uh, it was a fun creative challenge for me, and, definitely thinking differently in terms of these products when it came to pins and bags and the various types of, wallets and other merchandise that they have and pins. I think, it was just really a good way for me to train my brain to start thinking a little bit differently for these items, and
Hmm.
just really also getting to do some custom artwork and things for these pieces was certainly something I had had on my bucket list of stuff that I was really wanting to do with not just Disney artwork, but exploring other doing artwork for other IP as well.
There's been a lot of nice comments in the chat. Adam Grayson just said,
Oh,
"So proud of
thanks.
you for the amazing work that you've done over the
Oh,
years." Thank you, Adam Grayson. Again,
oh, thanks.
if you're not fully following Jason, I don't know why. Jen would tell you why haven't you been. Uh, you can
you
click
need
on
to.
You can follow his website. We have that link we've been dropping, also his Instagram here as we go through. This is a lot of fun, and we still got a little bit more to cover, and we'll
Yeah,
keep on
thanks, guys.
rolling, keep on rolling.
Wait, go back one screen. I have to
Yes, ma'am.
just say something
Yes,
real. I'm sorry. I just wanted to
All right.
make the comment that that one picture there is skeleton dance. It
yes,
looks
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the skeleton dance, and that is just so cool because you see a lot of princess lounge flies, you see a lot of Fab Five, or park icons movies, but to go back to the Disney beginnings of the skeleton dance, part of the Disney shorts, from the very beginning, I think that's awesome. I just wanted to point
yeah.
that
And
out,
I
that
I
it's
felt
so
the same
unique to
way.
see
Thank
something like
you.
that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Walt directed that, and I
Sure
just
did.
getting to, it wasn't really reinventing because we were staying true to what the classic, the classic short looked like, and so it was just more
Mm-hmm.
about the bells and whistles of the different pieces and working with the team to figure out, what do we do to these pieces to make them really fun and surprising and glow in the dark and
Mm-hmm.
move and, actually like, look like they could be dancing, things like that. And
Yeah.
up in the top right, the Harry Potter was a really
Mm-hmm.
fun one too. Just like so not Disney princess, not anything
yeah.
like I had really worked
Right.
on before. So yeah, those are ones that are always a fun challenge when it's really outside my
Mm-hmm.
comfort zone.
Love it, love it,
So cool.
Jen.
Oh yeah, me. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about lounge flies.
I know. I could
That's
see
okay.
that look in your eye, that
You
lounge
see
fly
it,
look.
you are like,
Yes.
oh, I
Yeah.
wonder if I
Pick
can
one
get that on
right. Pick one
eBay.
right.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, I'm going to eBay when we're done here.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Okay, sorry. Okay. So, Jason, could you share with us the impact that attending events like D23, the Festival of the Arts at EPCOT, Destination D23 has had on you, in your life? And could you talk a bit about how interacting with guests at those events has influenced you?
Yeah, and I'm embarrassed to say that last year was my very first D23. So, and I left just thinking, why haven't I done this before? And so just being a Disney fan, and even with Destination D this year, that was my first time going. And I think, it brings, like, you really do experience how much it brings everybody together.
hmm
We all have this, we're all sharing in this common love for Disney, and a lot of other things, that are showcased there. And so it's a cool thing, that the energy is just so high and everyone is just so excited to be there, and also like I think a lot of it is just to like running into people that you don't normally get to see,
Oh yeah.
different people from all over that maybe you're only friends with on social media. You don't you get to meet them for the first time in person, and I think that whole thing was definitely sticks out with me as being, one of the most, it's great to see all the announcements and everything, but also getting to see the people that you're friends with and that you don't get to see all the time and make those connections. I think is really amazing, and I hope to continue to go. And the same with like Festival of the Arts. It really, even just from the group of artists, there's so many that I don't really get to see or ever meet, haven't met in person, that I'll get to meet finally in person, and really getting to talk with each other. And I love seeing everyone else's art because that also is like really inspiring to me. Getting to see and hear about other people's artwork, and so
Right.
every year at the festival, it really is like, just really, cool and exciting. And it just, definitely gives me the energy to go back and, do more artwork, for, the next year or for anything else, personal projects. And just, getting to see what's inspiring at the festival each year is, really very cool. But yeah, how they, all these events bring everyone together, and we're all sharing this love for Disney or art and whatever it is. It's just you
Special.
feel that, and I think yeah, it's pretty special. So I'm hopeful that I continue to go to all these events and be a part of it in any way that I can.
We're definitely glad that you do, and hoping that continues, and love to hear that you're inspired by them. That's a great
Yeah.
thing. Well, let's talk real quick about a personal. Let's go over here and collectibles. Obviously, I have a couple, one or two things behind me here. Collectibles is big to me in my life because it really opens up a unique window into our guest personalities. Could you spend just a couple minutes talking about some of the Disney merchandise or collectibles that are really close to your heart and that cabinet and how you got it?
Yeah. I've always been really into collecting statues. I don't do a lot of
Cool.
pins. Maybe if there's some sorcerer Mickey pins out there, I'll usually do that. But I've always loved, the physical pieces and these in this picture and behind me, there's the Walt Disney Classics collection, which were just some of the most beautiful
Yes.
handcrafted porcelain pieces. Just the way that the scenes and the characters were captured. I just really, really love them. And when I was younger in New York, I was working at the mall, like every kid does.
Hmm.
And I was working at a collectible shop that also just happened to be directly across from the Disney store. So it was like, I was working at the collectible shop. They sold Disney pieces. And then on my lunch break, all the time I was running over to the Disney store buying stuff. But eventually the owners were retiring for the collectible shop, and I actually had two Disney cases. This is the one that I still have today, and I ended up when I moved, I ended up selling the other one because it was a bigger one than this, and it was
Yeah.
just too big to move with. But I will never part with this one. But I always, I these porcelain pieces were obviously more expensive. So yeah, before this, I was always collecting like the smaller, ceramic pieces that the
Right.
Disney store had, and it was just buying up all the ones that I really loved and I could afford at the time. And then of course over the years my hobby got more expensive. So I just
Yes.
yeah, I love having these. I don't, collect as much as I used to because it's like, they're big and it's
Yeah.
hard to find a place for everything. But I've got I don't know if you could see it in there, but with the Cinderella collection, the Jock piece was the I'm sorry, the Gus Gus piece was
Gus
the
Gus piece.
first. Yeah, it was the first classics piece that I had gotten, and then I started collecting the others or asking, for them as gifts for my birthday and using all whatever allowance or money I could, get at the time to buy some of these. What was dangerous is the collectible store. They were willing to let me put anything on layaway.
Oh boy.
So, and I didn't have any time frame. So I was just, constantly doing that with them,
Get
but
another piece.
they were really great about it. And so that yeah, but I do have some cells back there. Actually, the only two that I have, the Cirrus cells, were ones that I won in an event from another Disney gallery
Very nice.
that I used to love to go to.
Yeah, we
So
just
yeah,
we
I
just
do.
featured Debbie from the gallery out in California, right near Anaheim, just a couple
Okay.
weeks ago, and was talking about all the cells that were available. That was a lot of fun to do. So that's a great
Yeah.
collection right there, and I have a couple of
Thank
those
you.
actually in my cabinet. It's not a Disney cabinet; it's just a wooden cabinet, but I've got a couple of those out there in my living room. So when I saw that, that caught my eye. So love that.
Oh, thanks.
That's awesome. Jen?
So let's take a look into the future for a minute. Could you share with us some of the things on your artistic bucket list? And we'd love to hear if there are any dream projects or exciting things on the horizon, maybe that you can share with us.
Sure. I mean, I've always been a big fan of Walt Disney Imagineering. I would love to work with them on something one day.
Yes.
So that definitely is a big bucket list item. I'd love to do even more merchandise. I love doing the artwork and, having done some of the work for Loungefly, I think was just like a really great jumping off point for me learning more about that
Hmm.
world and product development and things like that. And so definitely would love to get more involved with that, whether it be Disney or even even elsewhere. But for Disney, it's certainly always been the dream of mine to do stuff for them and in lots of different varieties of ways. So if I could certainly do that, that would be amazing. And I do have like a small announcement I could, if now is the right
Let's
time.
do it.
But
Let's go for
uh
it.
yeah, sure. If you and I'm not going to give it all away, but if you check out my Instagram tomorrow morning, I am going to do my first teaser reveal for a new piece of art that I have coming out this year. And so I'm really excited for everyone to see what that is. And it's a character I've never worked on before. So
Oh, I just got
I'm
goosebumps.
very excited about it.
Okay, you got look. All of our artist friends, and especially Jason, do a great job of their teasers and giving you a little bit out there and a little insight to what's coming. You want to be following him on Instagram. If we could redrop his Insta in there right now. Speaking of which, this is the perfect time to transition over to that. Here's his Insta right here. He's got 25,000 plus followers. As I've said it before, I'm not going to be wrong here. 25,000 plus people cannot be wrong. Okay. They're following for a reason. Give them a follow over there.
Thank
You're
you.
going to love it. There's a great story. And hopefully, when the announcements for Festival of the Arts come out and all the artists are allowed, or Disney Anna, or maybe some other type of appearance that he might be doing, that might be a great place for you to keep up. He has a great website. It's right there. Jason Ratner Graphic Design. We've been dropping that link in throughout the night. You can go over there and,
Oh, thank you.
go through and find a little bit of everything over there. Both of the links for Jason will also be posted permanently in the description of this video. So if you're watching on the replay and for some reason you can't see the chat, we will make sure that you can get to those links for our guests tonight. Jason, as we tie things up, we always like to do a final thought of the night here. So we usually let you go first, and then I let the lady go first, and then I look at her and say, thank you for saying everything I want to say. That's kind of how this segment goes every week. So Jason, I'll throw it to you first.
Sure, yeah. Thank you both again for having me. I'm really grateful that you all asked and that we could have this time together. And I do think, even for me, I've watched your other videos and, it's great to be inspired by the other artists and other guests that you've had on. And so I
Thank you.
hope, today that, even if I was able to just inspire a few people, I'm really happy about that. And so thank you again. This was great.
Absolutely. Thank you. Jen?
I had such a great time being able to talk to you tonight. I was familiar with some of your pieces, like I said before, and now to just be able to actually talk to you about it is really cool for me as a fan. So thank you very much for
Oh, thank
sharing
you.
all of your inspirations with us, with your artwork. Looking forward to seeing you hopefully in January at Festival of the Arts. And just want to tell everyone again, go ahead and click follow on all of the social media and make sure you tune in tomorrow morning to see the big news.
It's exciting. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
First, I want to tell everybody that, hey, listen, as you're out there and working and being inspired, this is a great person to look after. We've had so many great artists, and Jason just continues to add to that. Family man and husband and focused on life. He's had some great experiences. Christy said just followed him on Insta. Well, thank you, Christy Lynn. I appreciate you.
Oh, thank
Uh,
you.
so great opportunity there. If you get a chance to get a piece of his art down in the at the festival or at Disneyland or any of these places, he does take the time to sit there and interact, and it's genuine. That's one of the things when I saw Jason, I said, I really wanted to interview you, and I really appreciate that. I also received two instant messages along the way. Yes, we are going to work to get figure out a way to get one of Jason's pieces and feature it for our next year for that, because we couldn't do that without him for our charity
Oh,
thing
that's
for the
nice.
military. We'll work on that privately. From me personally, again, it's just great to meet good people, and you fall in that line of just you're just a really good person who has a ton of talent. I don't even think we've seen the heights that you're going to go yet. I hope that Disney
Oh, thank
does
you.
take that opportunity and look at the creativity that you've had with Loungefly and bring you over to some more of their opportunities with merch. And I just can't wait to see what the next projects are going to bring for you, and the hopefully continue to talk with you more in the future. As I tell, I think I've said this almost to every artist, either on screen or off. You being here tonight made our show better, and I thank you for that. Really
Oh,
appreciate that.
thank you guys so
Absolutely.
much.
Absolutely. I'm going to say good night real quick and tell everybody about another guest. Could you hang tight for a second? We'll talk backstage for a second. That be okay?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you guys.
Jen, I've got the goosebumps on goosebumps just with this.
Mhm.
I know how much this show meant to you when we first started talking about this. Jason was one of the first like 5 or 6 names that came up of, hey, we got to find
Mhm.
these are the artists. So I thought that was great tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Love seeing all the Sorcerer Mickey. You know that I love that. I know
Wow.
you love Jessica Rabbit,
I mean,
you know, from yeah.
I mean,
So that's very cool. Loungeflies, come on. We feature Loungeflies every week on the News and Merch Show. We're always following what's going on with Loungefly, and to actually see the actual artist that's creating Loungefly, like I
yeah.
can go on and
And
on.
like you said at the beginning, his use of color, his use of shadowing. I mean,
Mhm,
it's
mhm,
just a couple of those Mickey pieces where you just saw the sorcerer hat, like, and you had the brooms coming through. You could see the whole
mhm,
story of Fantasia in just that simple.
mhm.
It's just so special. So we are going to do a whole show, everybody, Jen and I, on all of the artists that are coming up on the Festival of the Arts in just a couple weeks. When it's announced, look for us to post a show. We're going to go through everybody that's there. We'll highlight everybody that's coming and the artists that have been on our channel and all that. So we're looking forward to that. Real quick, we do want to let you know that coming up in just a couple weeks, Jen, I know you're happy. He is the man of 2,000 voices. Brian Hall is coming to the channel.
I just feel like as he does his impressions, like I'm just going to be giggling because they're so good. It's just amazing. I mean, I'm
He's
sure a lot of people are familiar with him, you know, from social media, but oh man, this is going to be special. Really looking forward to it.
And the great thing is Disney is now starting to see and they're starting to use him. He's now been in Disney. I think he was just in the recent Dracula movie. He was just recently in that for Disney. And I show this. I'm going to show this real quick because we're advertised this week. He is unbelievable. He can just jump in and do anything. Well, here's Goofy. This was literally me walking into Hollywood Studios, going, "Hey, Brian Hall."
Well, hey there! You're watching the Pete McDevitt Show. Oh boy! Can't wait for you to see.
It's just unbelievable. So
Don't know how to do that. I
he's
that is
amazing.
such a talent.
Uh, it's been my honor to sit here with you tonight and with Jason and talk about everything that he's all about. I thank you. I look forward to the next time we get to do this. For all of you out there, we bid you good night and say thank you for taking the time to have some dialogues with us. We are truly grateful that you were here, and we look forward to seeing you on the next show. Good night, everybody.